So again, I'm Doug Nesbitt, Director of Affordable Finance and Fair Lending for CMG. My contact information is at the bottom of the screen here, and I'll have that on at the end as well. And for those of you who stick around to the very end, and hopefully you will, I've got a special gift for you that's going to help you get a quick start on the program, things you're going to need. I'm going to share that with you via the chat panel at the end of the presentation. Okay, a little bit about CMG for those of you who may not be familiar with the company, because we always have a lot of real estate agent partners on the call. Company was founded in 1993 by Chris George, our president and CEO. He was recently the chairman of the Mortgage Bankers Association. The company has gotten quite big here lately with the addition of HomeBridge. We just acquired HomeBridge, and a fantastic group of folks have come in, joined our team, and so we're easily in the top 10, 15, somewhere in there, depending on how you look at 30, 40 billion a year in mortgages annually, we think. And loan officers, fantastic crew all the way across the country, branches everywhere, full range of lending products that you might expect from a top lender, plus two unique exclusive products, the all-in-one loan. I call that the most powerful loan on the planet. You should get familiar with it if you're not familiar with it. It'll change the way you think about mortgages and your money forever. HomeFundIt, which is changing lives for buyers everywhere. We're going to talk about that today. We were named the best lender for first-time buyers, and Zillow thinks we're pretty good too. So a little bit about HomeFundIt. HomeFundIt does two things that you got to remember. One of them is it solves that #1 problem that buyers have, and that is the down payment. A lot of folks can make that mortgage payment even with higher rates today, and obviously as rates fall later, they'll have the opportunity to refinance. But really what slows up the process of creating a real buyer out of a prospective buyer is the down payment. So if you can solve that, you're going to do more business, and that's what we're here to help you do today. The second thing that it does is it helps you hold on to those folks, those many, many folks who aren't ready to buy today but want to. How do you hold on to those folks today? Well, it's tough, right? You know, call me when you're ready. But HomeFundIt does a fantastic job in helping you hold on to those folks. And again, that's going to be a big focus of our meeting today. So millennials, largest home buying generation ever. 82% of them want to buy a home. Guess what? The average age of millennials is? Well, it happens to be about 32, 33. Guess what the average age of a first-time home buyer is? Yeah, 32, 33. So the middle of the bell curve of millennials, the wave of millennials, is breaking on the average age of a home buyer right now. So they are in the market. And when you talk to prospective home buyers today, 60% of them are first-time buyers. That's a new number from the National Association of Home Builders. So a lot of prospective buyers out there that never bought a home. Prospective buyer, what is that? That's somebody who's hoping to buy a home, has decided, hey, I need to buy a home, dreaming of buying a home, getting there, working on it, etc. But when you actually look at who currently is buying homes in the market today, that number squishes down quite a bit to 26% of current buyers being first-time buyers. So how did that happen? Well, there's a whole lot of folks who are on the sidelines still, saving up a down payment, and according to the National Association of Realtors, it takes 3 to 4 years to come up with a down payment. So doing the math here, if you can speed up that process for folks, you can create a real buyer out of a prospective buyer. And guess what that is going to do to your business? It's going to grow your business, and we have a tool to help you do just that. So let's talk about those first-time home buyers. Everybody knows the drill. They are struggling with high home prices, rising rents, student debt. And this is why it's taking 3 to 4 years on average for people to come up with enough money to make a down payment, right? So how do they do that today? Well, generally it's a solo effort. Save a bunch of money, eat top ramen for 2 or 3 years. And they basically come up with a solo down payment. In about 25% of cases, they get help from good old bank of mom and dad with down payment gifting. Even though under Fannie, Freddie, FHA guidelines, other relatives can help with that down payment, but they rarely get asked. And why is that? Friction, right? Paper checks, I got to come up with a gift letter. It's all very inconvenient. And actually think about the process, and not very many people do this. They don't think about the actual timing of when that down payment gifting conversation actually happens. Think about it. The buyer comes in, doesn't really know a lot about down payment gifting. Mom and dad have said, oh yeah, we're going to help you with your down payment. We're not exactly sure how that all works. So we sit down with a loan officer. Loan officer tells us how to do the down payment gifting. Here's what a down payment gift letter has to include. Go have your mom and dad sign this, and then they come back with a paper check. Now, is it any wonder that that buyer doesn't go out and talk to all those other relatives that can help? That's kind of a hassle, right? You got to get that gift letter. I got to come up with a paper check. It's super inconvenient. And by the way, it's pretty late. By the time I'm actually sitting down across the table with a loan officer learning all that stuff, it's kind of too late to go back out and, have, convenient conversations with all the people that might be able to help, right? So the old way of doing down payments doesn't work very well. And that's why we built HomeFundIt. We said, let's move this whole process online with a debit card or credit card, just like everything else we do today, no offline paperwork. And that makes it much more easy for all those other people to be able to help, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, right? All the people that could potentially help with that transaction can now do so very easily because there's no friction. And in fact, on HomeFundIt, anyone can give. And that means non-relatives, friends, teammates, wedding guests, co-workers, your college roommate, your best bowling buddy. Doesn't matter. Anybody who knows you and loves you can help you, right? And they can do it up to $5,000 per donor, no maximum amount on how much you can raise on the campaign. You just keep going. 100% of the money you raise goes to the transaction. We cover all of the commissions and fees of the credit card transactions. And it works with every loan program except for HFA bond programs and FHA buyer's choice. So any loan program that means conventional, Home Possible, Home Ready, FHA, VA, USDA, Jumbo, any loan program except for HFA bond programs. Think about when you graduated from high school or college. You sent out a little graduation announcement to a bunch of people. What happened when you did that? Well, I guarantee you a whole bunch of people sent you some kind of a present back or some kind of gift funds and stuff like that. When you got married, you sent out a wedding invitation to a whole bunch of people. And pretty much everybody you sent a wedding invitation to probably sent you a gift back. Many of them flew across the country to come there and be there for your wedding. Those are the people who help out in a HomeFundIt campaign. Those are the people who know you and love you and want to see you do well, celebrate those milestones with you and help you on your way. And that's what we see every day with HomeFundIt campaigns. It sets up very, very easily. Buyer just goes through a few simple setup screens and presto, they've got a page on the web where they can customize the photo, the title of the campaign, the story that we give them, they can customize that, or they can leave it the way it is. Loan officer and real estate agent are both featured on the campaign page. There's a spot in the upper right-hand corner here where people donate to the campaign and you can track the progress. There's a second way to add funds to a campaign. It's called Up It. I'll talk about that in a second. And in the bottom right, you can see where all the gifts are coming in. We match those gifts 2 to 1 up to the lesser of $2,000 or 1% of purchase price. We call that the HomeFundIt grant or the lender credit. There's 2 requirements for this. First-time buyer, you have to be a first-time buyer to get this. You do not have to be a first-time buyer to use the platform. So anybody can use this platform. And frankly, we don't see a lot of non-first-time buyers using these, move-up buyers, divorce and disaster kind of scenarios sometimes, but generally it's first-time buyers. So most everybody is working on getting towards this 2,000. The second requirement, super important, and I'm going to talk about this a couple times. Home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract. Please do not talk to your buyers about it after they got into contract or the day before they go out house hunting and signing a contract and all that. They have to do home buyer ed before they sign a purchase contract. Why? Because that's why you should do home buyer ed, right? Do it before you get into the process of buying a house. That's the whole point of the whole thing. So home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract. I had to have a very sad conversation this week with a group that did not tell their buyer to do that. They did the home buyer ed, but they did it after contract, and that is a hard requirement. So no 2,000 there. It is a hard requirement for the grant. Okay, next slide here. Again, I talked about the 2,000, 2 to 1 match, first time buyer, home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract, and we apply that to closing costs. Freddie Mac's Borrow Smart program, I'm going to bring that up because we do a lot of these with HomeFundIt. It stacks with HomeFundIt beautifully. If you make less than 100% of the area median income, you should absolutely be considering Borrow Smart because it's kind of free money. If you make less than 100%, you can get anywhere between $1,000 and $2,500. And it applies to either the down payment or closing costs. It does require home buyer ed also, $99 special home buyer ed from Home Preservation Foundation. That'll qualify you for the home buyer ed requirement for HomeFundIt, not the other way around. So you can't use the one from HomeFundIt on Borrow Smart. So it only works one way. but we see a lot of these stacked together. And again, a lot of first-time buyers make less than 100% of the area median. So you should absolutely be considering Borrow Smart every time you think about HomeFundIt and vice versa. So those two together go together really well. UpIt, I mentioned a second way to add funds to a campaign, and you do that simply by shopping. Everybody does that online these days, and all you got to do is click in here on the campaign page, and it opens up a world of online retailers, 1,000 of them. Each one of them rebates a certain percentage back to the down payment as a pledge at closing. It ranges from 1% to 50%. It averages around 7.6%. All the stores that you know and love are in here. Home Depot, 8%. There's Target, there's Walmart.com, Old Navy, all the travel guys are in here, and there's some big dollars, as you guys know, associated with spending on travel, so bigger rebate dollars there on those. So great way to go. Plus, we bonus those UpIt pledges 2 to 1 as well. So if you got $4 back from shopping at Walmart, you get $8 towards that same $2,000 lender grant. So think of it as a second way to get to that $2,000 lender grant. And it gets better. We bonus you $10 every time you share your campaign on social towards that $2,000 lender grant. So if you share on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you could get $30. And then if your friend came to your campaign page and shared the campaign page, they could get you $30, again, towards that $2,000 cap lender grant. So it's a third way to get to the $2,000. Think of it as a third way. And when your buyer sets up their campaign, they have a full to-do list that explains kind of the things that they can do to make their campaign really sing. They can update their picture, their title, they can upload a story or a video, they can start their home buyer ed from here, they can start a pre-qual from here if they've never done that as well either. Loan officer and real estate agent are both featured on the page here as well. So this is kind of their control center. They can track everything, they can share from here, and then they can click on the preview button and jump over to the public facing side of their campaign so they can see what their page looks like after they make those changes. Again, this is where you start your home buyer ed. You just click the go button, it'll take you to the home buyer ed. Home buyer ed is 1 hour free over the phone. Couldn't be easier. And it's Monday through Friday business hours. So it's easy for folks to be able to schedule some time. Usually you can do it within a day, and it's Green Path. They also have a Spanish language version. So it's a pretty good way to go, free, quick home buyer ed. If you can't use the over the phone version during the week, let's say the person works or something and they have to be able to do it on the weekend, there are a whole bunch of online courses available, framework. Most of those cost money. It has to be a HUD approved course though. And so make sure it's a HUD approved course, or again, you can use the free 1 hour over the phone version. Okay, there's two important tracks for HomeFundIt. One is the Freddie Mac track, the other is the non-Freddie Mac track. We have a special relationship with Freddie Mac on these, but non-Freddie Mac deals do require seasoning. That means you can set up your campaign. There's no time limit on these campaigns. There's no minimum age on these campaigns. You can set them up as early as you want. In fact, I'm going to talk a lot about that in a second. Do your fundraising anytime you're ready. You can start talking to family and friends about helping you with your down payment. Usually that process runs 4 to 12 weeks from when people start talking about it with their family and friends. Make sure you get pre-qualified before you get out there and house hunt, and make sure you get your home buyer ed before you get yourself in a contract. That's the whole idea here, and it's a requirement to get to 2,000. Now, on all deals except for Freddie Mac, as I said, it requires seasoning, so you want to make sure that you get those funds in your bank account to season them. How long is seasoning? About 2 bank statements generally. Check with your underwriter. Sometimes on FHA it can be 1 bank statement, but you want to get those funds in there before the last 2 bank statements occur, and you submit those with your final loan application. There's an ACH button on the campaign control panel. Buyer just hits that button, money goes in their bank account, sits there for 2 bank statements, seasoned, becomes buyer funds, and then you're good to go. You're closing, you're getting your $2,000 at closing, your UpIt funds from all your shopping, etc. And a lot of folks say, well, what if I don't have time to season those funds? Let's say they found out about it and there's not quite 2 bank statements of time. That's okay. They can leave the funds in their campaign, just leave them there all the way through closing. They can't use them in the transaction because they've got to use seasoned funds. But they can use them for paint, carpet repairs, etc. Afterwards, they still get their $2,000. The funds just remain in the campaign until after closing. So that's a way to kind of, you know, if you don't have enough time to season those funds, again, you can't use them, but you can still qualify for the 2,000. Now with Freddie Mac, it couldn't be easier. You can set up your campaign, you can fundraise and use Up It right down to the wire. Again, make sure you get your home buyer ed done before you get into contract. And then of course you're going to submit your final loan application, close, and we actually wire those funds at closing. There's no ACH loop in there. So they're just going to leave the funds in their campaign and it automatically goes over to closing with those gift funds. And again, the $2,000 is a lender credit at closing. The $2,000 are not down payment dollars. So your gift funds are your down payment dollars. And that's the Freddie Mac track. And that works for Freddie Mac conventional, Home Possible, and Choice Renovation. We've seen a ton of these campaigns so far. Actually, I think the number is like 1,600. All different size campaigns, big, small, high credit, low credit, you know, borrowers everywhere use this thing. This is a ride along to a loan program, right? So it is not its own loan program. It goes with loan programs. So we see it used with every kind of loan program out there, except for HFA bond programs, of course. So that's the way to think about HomeFundIt as it works with other programs. Top 10 campaigns, we've seen some very large ones. As you might expect, there's no upper limit on how much you can raise. It just depends on your family and friends. What I would say the sweet spot is around 5 to 15,000. These are 5 to 15 donors, and this is for a good-looking, well-shared campaign. Now, if you don't share your campaign with anybody, and you just set up your page, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get the mom and dad gift, which is what you would have gotten, and there's not a lot of incremental there, right? So make sure you talk to your buyer about thinking about who they might be able to tell us about, right? So you're going to have them just say, hey, look, you know, who in your circle of family and friends might want to help you on your journey to home ownership, and they will start thinking about it. They need time, right? So make sure you don't hit them with this a week before they're thinking about making an offer on a house. It doesn't work very well, right? So if you give them time, they can generate those donors. This is a look at a sweet spot campaign. Good photo, good story. A couple had recently gotten married, went back to the same group of people who came to their wedding, and you know, they had always been talking about buying a house, and those folks kind of knew it, and they said, hey, we'd love it if you guys would check out our campaign page. We're doing this thing called HomeFundIt, and we'd love it if you wanted to, you could help us with our down payment. We would find that would be really great. And they actually only thought their parents would give. You had 13 people jump in, and they had 11,000 in just a couple weekends, and helped them buy their house sooner, stronger, faster. And so that's the power of these things. For you, while you may not think 11,000 is a lot of money, for these folks, it was a lot of money. And for you also, don't miss the fact that there are 13 people who helped with that transaction, right? And that's what we call the HomeFundIt network effect. You know, with a regular transaction, there are 4 main players involved: the loan officer, a realtor, buyer, and seller. And you're hoping that downstream you're getting a little bit of love from that buyer because you did a good job and they're going to refer a friend to you, right? With HomeFundIt, when you look at that last campaign, you have 13 people who were helping buy that house, right? 13 people who are also on stage with the 4 of you, right? They were right there helping their friend buy a house, and they all have networks. They all got a chance to see how this cool thing that they'd never heard of called HomeFundIt works, right? The loan officer, the real estate agent that was on the deal, they did a great job. And they're going to go around and tell all their friends about this way that they helped their friend buy a house. And so it's very important that you recognize that these donors are points of referral for you. So the more donors that show up on this campaign, the better for you downstream. And we see this over and over with HomeFundIt. Larger campaigns with more donors generate more downstream pipeline for the loan officer and the real estate agent. This is the most important slide that I could possibly show you in this whole thing. Because for you as a professional, your goal is to grow your business over time. The way you do that is by getting more donors. How do you get more donors on these campaigns? You give your buyer time. Time is your friend on these campaigns. And that's why the average length of a HomeFundIt campaign has grown from 30 days when we first started this campaign. It was kind of associated with purchases right up near the purchase, right? The average age of a HomeFundIt campaign now is almost 5 months. That means loan officers and real estate agents are figuring this out. They're going out finding people who are further and further up the funnel from buying that house, people who are still dreaming. Those prospective buyers we talked about at the very beginning of this presentation, 60% of people out there who want to buy a home who aren't ready, those are the people who they start in HomeFundIt campaigns as early as possible, because it gives the buyer time to be able to line up these donors, to be able to talk to grandma when she visits, to be able to talk to their friends when they're out drinking at night or something like that. It gives them time to do this. If you jam your buyer a week before they make an offer, I guarantee you this network of donors here will not appear, because your buyer doesn't have time to comfortably work it into their life, right? So again, this is the most important dynamic that we've discovered on this program, is time is your friend on this thing. And that's a behavior change for all of us as loan officers and real estate agents. We're used to dealing with people who are in the run-up to buying a home. They're pretty close to being ready, right? So what we have to do is to start thinking about finding people who are further out from buying. That means, paying attention to your network, paying attention to people who are talking about people who want to buy a house, finding those people and getting them starting on campaigns earlier. Campaigns that look like these. Family, the one on the right was a $32,000 campaign, right? They worked their network, right? They had a whole network of people that helped them buy that house. Weddings, right? These are people who are focused on getting married, but down the line, they've got a giant checkbox they've got to check off called buying a house, right? So we have loan officers and real estate agents that are hitting wedding expos. There's a huge one in Nashville we're doing this weekend. Wedding expos, and they're saying, look, let your wedding guests help you with your down payment. You don't want the China stuff. You don't want the crystal. Nobody wants that stuff anymore, right? What they want is a house. And this is the easiest pitch in the world, to let your wedding guests, let the wedding itself be the vehicle that helps your future client become a homeowner, right? And they're putting QR codes in their save the date announcement. They're putting QR codes in their wedding invitation saying, look, instead, we have all the stuff we need. Instead of that stuff, more stuff. What we want is we'd love as a house, and we're getting a 2-to-1 match on anything you help us with. So it's a fantastic pitch. We have wedding expo backdrop materials, banners, flyers. We have follow-up emails for people who come to the wedding expos, because again, they're focused on getting married, but right after they're done, they're going to be focused on buying a house. So this is a fantastic strategy for LOs and real estate agents. Next gen buyer, another fantastic business building strategy. We've got a lot of clients who are older, kind of hunkered down in their homes at 3% fixed rate, not going to be monetizable for a little while, right? They haven't moved down yet or up or whatever. But they've got dependents who are finishing college, starting that first job. You're looking at a young lady who is just finishing up at Clemson. She found out about HomeFundIt from her dad, the guy in the purple shirt there in that campaign photo. And he's a real estate agent who works with our top loan officer. And he heard about HomeFundIt, was excited about it. We actually have a video of him talking about it after he learned about it. He went home and talked to his daughter about it. And she said, well, yeah, why wouldn't we set that up right now? She set it up while she was still in college, put a QR code in her college graduation announcement and said, instead of sending me things after, since I'm graduating, I'd rather have help with a down payment, because one of my goals is to buy a home as soon as I can. And by the way, any gift you give me is worth like $3. So she was in her house by November. And I don't know a lot of college students that graduate and buy their own home by November. So pretty cool system, pretty cool opportunity to tap into that next gen buyer. So if you've got older clients, this is a phone call that they are going to welcome, a way to help their kids become homeowners sooner. Okay, so how do you get this out there to your customers? If you're a real estate agent, you want to set up a realtor portal. It's a great landing page that's a starting place for your buyer to get started on a HomeFundIt campaign. It sets up really easy, and I'll show you some great marketing tools that are built into it. It's got your branding on it. It's got your picture and contact information. It's got a big green button where your buyer starts a HomeFundIt. There's an ask a question panel. So if they have a question along the way, or anybody sees it and has a question, they can get back in touch with you. There's video that explains how the program works. There's an active and successful campaigns tab that showcases the campaigns that are connected to you. If you are in one of the 40 states that allow it, you can do a dollar for dollar match on any gifts that are coming in from your buyer, for your buyer. It's a great reason to do this, obviously, is to incentivize your buyer to go out and raise more money, to get more donors, which means more points of referral for you. So these dollar for dollar matches serve a lot of purposes. It's not just giving away closing costs, but you're helping them build a referral network for you, right? Plus you're getting some free advertising anytime somebody donates. Plus it's kind of a retention feature, right? Because your pledge is at closing and they've basically got to close. So it helps strengthen the retention aspect of the program. Inside your portal, there's a marketing center, and you click on that marketing center and it opens up social graphics. It'll also open up a section with testimonial videos. And the cool thing about these testimonial videos is that they've got your branding automatically applied to the video by the portal. So you set one of these portals up, you have these videos in there that are branded. They're super easy to share, and people can get back in touch with you when they see these videos. There's 7 of them in there, all different types of stories. I tell people share these on Fridays. People have a little bit of time to look at it over the weekend and then get a hold of you. You can see my branding on the sample one here. I'm just clicking the share button underneath it, and that pops open a share if I'm logged into Facebook. I'm putting some call to action copy at the top of that post, and I'll show you how to get to that call to action copy. And then I'm just going to go down to the bottom and hit the blue button and post it in my timeline. And that's it. My social media to post for the weekend is done. It's video. It explains how to solve the #1 problem that people have when they're buying their first home. And it points right back to the realtor portal that I set up. So it's a pretty cool way to go. And you know, if you have a Facebook page, you can boost that post for like 50 bucks. You can get in front of everybody in the market that's looking for a home that weekend. So fantastic way to get in front of people who don't follow you. Inside your portal, there's a marketing kit. And each page in this marketing kit corresponds to one of those videos. And the call to action copy that you're going to need for that post is pre-written right on that page. And you're just going to steal it and stick it on that post and hit the post button. And that's your marketing for the weekend. You don't even have to do any copywriting. You just copy, paste, post. That's it. So how do you get one of these portals? Realtor.homefundit.com. You might want to write that down, realtor.homefundit.com. Then you're just going to pick a password for your future site. You're going to put in some information about your company, pick a name for your site, upload your logo and picture. You're going to write a little about me statement or copy that in from your website. And then importantly, you're going to pick your loan officer from the drop-down, the CMG or joint venture partner loan officer that you're working with. And they're all in there. And that's what puts both of you on that HomeFundIt Realtor portal page. And any campaigns that come in are going to be co-branded with both you guys on it. And then the last thing you have to do is decide if you want to do one of those nice matching pledges. Highly recommend it. And you can cap it at any amount that's comfortable for you. But again, some great reasons to do it because it incentivizes your buyer to have a bigger donor network. And that's what you want. Now, once your campaigner gets their campaign up and running, they get a weekly email statement. This is fantastic for long-range campaigns that, you know, you can stay in front of them for a whole year if you want. And it's got your branding on it. And then anytime something happens on those campaigns, there's a trigger email that goes out to everybody that says somebody just shared or shopped or donated. Again, sign up for one of these portals at realtor.homefundit.com. And that's where you're going to log back into once you get yourself all set up. Again, couldn't be easier to set one of these up. Loan officers, make sure all of your real estate agents have these. And again, you should, you know, realtors do these. These are easy to set up. All you need is a logo and a picture, and bam, you're done. Okay, last thing you got to do is think about whether or not you have any large groups of people that want to become homeowners. And every once in a while, we'll have a loan officer come to us or a real estate agent come to us and say, hey, I know a company that wants to help their people become homeowners. And we've got a special affinity portal that company can set up as a starting place for those employees or members. If they're not a company, they could be a church or a union. So for their people to be able to start a HomeFundIt campaign. It sets up really easily. And in fact, it can become part of their HR program. The company has to want to put some skin in the game. They have to be able to, you know, help with that down payment. That is a requirement. You're looking at Graceland University. They're in the upper right here. They help their employees. It's actually where Caitlin Jenner went to college. They help their employees buy homes in the area when they come to work for the university. The yellow one in the middle, the Hero Fund. This is a large franchisor of Wendy's, Panera, and Noodles & Company restaurants all around the Midwest and Northeast. They actually have 3 portals with 3 different levels of assistance depending on where you happen to live in their network. And I think they've got about 30 campaigns running right now. One in the upper left, Busboys and Poets. It's a restaurant chain in the Northeast. And interestingly, we've actually got some builders that are now starting to get interested in using these as a way to hold on to buyers while a development gets built, or when a future development is out a ways. It helps the buyer be able to raise a bigger down payment. So you're looking at a builder out in Colorado here. This one in the lower left is using it. And you can kind of see the loan officer pictured here on the page. All the business that comes in on these goes to one LO or one real estate agent team that's bringing these in. And then there's an interesting intersection of the wedding opportunity and the affinity opportunity. This is brand new. We have people going out pitching these right now at wedding expos and so forth, but there are businesses at these wedding expos also. Photographers, wedding planners, bridal shops, wedding caterers, even locations. And they're always looking for a way to compete with each other to add value to their client relationships. And many of their clients want to be homeowners down the line. In fact, a whole bunch of them, same numbers as loan officers and real estate agents looking at these future couples getting married. So they can set up these pages, basically, like you were just seeing, and their customers can raise a bigger down payment from their wedding guests. So a wedding planner could say, hey, we've got this special portal that helps you raise a down payment faster, and all your wedding guests can do this instead of give you just kind of regular things, toasters and things like that. And if you use me as your wedding planner, I'll throw a $500 match into the whole thing. So it's a fantastic way for one of these companies to be able to help their people who are future homeowners and be more competitive in the marketplace as well. So if you're interested in any of these types of relationships out there, let me know. We typically set these up as a dedicated meeting, and I can help you present the portal here to any company or organization that you're talking to. So to kind of wrap up, and then I'll do some Q&A. Today when you're meeting customers, they're kind of down here at the end of this long journey of getting ready to buy a house, and then they call a loan officer, they call a real estate agent, and they say, hey, ready to get going on buying a home. But with HomeFundIt, we flip that on its head. You can start the relationship even with folks who are a long way from buying a home. In fact, they can just use UpIt initially if they're not really ready to start talking to family and friends about donating to a campaign or helping with that down payment. But when they do, in all cases, they're going to be done sooner because they're getting help from other people and from shopping, etc. And so you're starting earlier with the customer. You're locking them into your pipeline way ahead of where you normally would. You're speeding up the process, and you're more competitive because you're taking a deal off the table that now your competitors can no longer have. And that's the key strategy with HomeFundIt. Start earlier. The earlier you start, the bigger the network that they generate, that they talk to, the more points of referral for you. So this acceleration, this starting early thing, time is your ally in this entire process. It all boils down to getting people on these campaign pages. The minute you get a whiff of the fact that they're interested in becoming a homeowner down the line, it doesn't matter how far out. And by the way, you're not in control of that anyway. How long they're dreaming of buying a home is their thing, not your thing. But what you are in control of is when you get them on one of these campaign pages. And that's super important. So for you, it can help your client be ready sooner. It can help you secure these long-range buyers that we're talking about. For your clients, it's a game changer because when you take the friction out of this old system of down payment gifting that doesn't work very well, it opens up new possibilities. Your buyer wants to buy a home pretty bad. So when you explain to them, hey, this online system allows you to now talk to family and friends about down payment gifting, right? And it's totally easy because you don't have to worry about gift letters. You don't have to worry about receiving a paper check. Trust me, they will think of ways to work it into their world, given enough time. If you jam them, they won't. You give them enough time, they will. And there's 2 ways people can help: donations, shopping, or both. It all boils down to one phrase. This is the elevator pitch. This is online down payment gifting from anyone. And it all really kind of boils down to that one line. It's online and anyone can help. So for you real estate agents, set up a realtor portal, realtor.homefundit.com. Work it into every first-time home buyer discussion. I haven't met a first-time buyer yet that couldn't use a larger down payment. This is the way they can do it. Pipelines, like older clients are the key to the next generation. So call those older clients. It's a phone call they'll welcome. Explain to them you've got this new tool that lets their kids buy homes faster. And we've got a testimonial video that explains how that's done, that McKenzie video. And share, even little basic things like those testimonial videos that are in your portals, emailing links to people to explain how this program works, and even the basics like putting something in your signature block. Those little things will help you generate more business as well. And that's HomeFundIt, the program itself, the real estate agent platform, the affinity opportunity. Hope you found that interesting. And I'm going to do some Q&A right now. Looks like they're all coming in on the chat today. This is interesting. I got 100% chat Q&A. Maybe the Q&A panel isn't working. Question, is it a requirement for the grant or a requirement of the program? It's a requirement of the program. So HomeFundIt program requires home buyer ed prior to contract to use the program. How does the loan officer and realtor get placed on the page when the client completes their page? The way to do it is to start them at a realtor portal. If you start them at a realtor portal, then they'll automatically have the loan officer and the real estate agent applied to their campaign, because when the realtor portal is set up, the loan officer is connected to that portal. So any campaigns coming in will have them both on there. Now, loan officers, if there is no real estate agent on the deal at the time the customer sets up a campaign, and this happens, and there's no portal to send them to of a realtor partner, you do have a custom loan officer URL for HomeFundIt campaigns. If you go in the Marketing Hub, in the Tools section of the Marketing Hub, look for the HomeFundIt URL Builder, and that will help you create a special URL that will start a campaign with just you on it. It'll make sure it's not just an unbranded campaign or a no loan officer, no real estate agent campaign, which will end up in our call center. So use that custom URL that you can get in the Marketing Hub in the Tools section, and that'll just be an LO only campaign until there's a realtor on the deal. Then we can add the realtor onto the campaign later. Customer can even do that. The realtor does have to have a realtor portal to be added onto the campaign though. Okay, is HomeFundMe the same as HomeFundIt? Good question, and you had sharp eyes, because that old campaign that I was showing you a picture of is indeed what was called HomeFundMe a long time ago. And quite a while ago, we changed the name to HomeFundIt. You may see some old legacy things out there that says HomeFundMe, but it is HomeFundIt. Good eye. Do we have a link that we can add to social media? Yeah, so just depends on kind of what level you're sharing. If you're sharing a campaign, you want to share those campaigns from the campaign page. There's social buttons at the top. If you're a realtor and you want to share your realtor portal out on social media, there are social media buttons on your realtor portal that you want to share. So just look for those social media buttons and click the link there. What was the website? The website was realtor.homefundit.com. And before I forget here, in the chat, I just clicked the link to click the button to send you guys all a starter kit. In the starter kit, download this file. It's a zip file. You want to download it, unpack it. There's an FAQ in there. There is the infamous cheat sheet, which is the very best place to start, with your kind of getting your head around HomeFundIt. It's kind of a summary of the program, plus links to everything under the sun. Tons of testimonial video links that you can play, share, training links, how it works links, realtor portal promotion link, more training links for this stuff, a recorded version of this. All that stuff is in the starter kit. There's a quick start flyer for loan officers. There's a quick start flyer for real estate agents. Copy of the presentation, just excellent. If you have trouble with this link, some people do, email me. My contact information is here on the screen, and I will send you the link by email, and you can try it that way. Sometimes this chat panel blows it up for people. I don't know why, but it does. Another question, I'm looking at one of the flyers in Surefire, and it's a nice flyer, but it doesn't tell people the website to go to. So the website that you want to send them to is your realtor portal flyer, realtor portal website. So make sure that you add that in, somewhere in your signature block, etc. So that's the very best place. So again, depends on who you are, if you're a realtor, you want to send them to your realtor portal URL. You'll get that when you set up your portal. And if you are a loan officer, obviously if you can put your custom HomeFundIt URL in there as well. So hopefully the surefire thing. And if you're still stuck, let me know and I can help you some more on that. Can we have a copy in PowerPoint of this presentation? Yes, there is one in the starter kit. So if you grab that starter kit, it should be in there. Almost all the flyers in Surefire are based on wedding theme. Are there any chance to get some more generic ones? Yeah, there are generic ones in there. So if you go to Surefire and you hit the HomeFundIt button in there, there is a whole bunch of kind of generic HomeFundIt flyers in there. So, and again, if you're still stuck trying to find those, let me know and I can try to help you on that. But there's a bunch of new wedding ones that I think are near the top that kind of get a lot of, they're very flashy. And then there's some other ones that are generic ones in there. Let's see. Another question, when I go to my custom URL, do I need to log in and set it up? It just takes me to a general landing page. No, that URL, that custom URL, if you're a loan officer, that customer URL is one that you're going to share with your customer. So you're going to drop that URL in an email and say, start your campaign here. And they're going to click that URL, start their campaign, and that campaign will be actually linked to you when they get that campaign all set up. Is there a report to easily see how campaigns are progressing? Yeah, there are. So there's actually three things that will kind of clue you in on your campaigns. One, you're going to get a weekly update on your campaigns. If you're a loan officer, if you're a real estate agent, and if you're a campaigner, you're getting a weekly update. I think they go out on the weekends. And if you're a loan officer, it'll show you all your realtor portals and any campaigns that are functioning under those realtor portals. If you're a realtor, it's going to show you all the campaigns you're connected to. And if you're a customer, obviously, it's going to show you your campaign. That's one thing. Two, there's trigger emails that I was showing you earlier. So anytime somebody shares, shops, donates, there's a trigger email that everybody gets, and it shows that somebody did something. And so you'll see that. The third way, if you're a loan officer, you can go into Domo. There is a Realtor Loan Officer HomeFundIt Campaign Tracker report in Domo that you can grab. So go in Domo, look for that report. If you can't find it, reach out to me. I'll try to help you. But there is a report in there that'll track the campaign. It shows how many shares, how much they've raised, kind of the same information that's on that weekend update email. And by the way, if you're not seeing that weekend update email, check your spam folder because sometimes it shows up over there and you're going to want to whitelist it and make it so that it doesn't do that anymore. Another question, how do I put my custom URL on my Outlook signature? Do I open a marketing ticket? Yeah, I think that one's probably going to be a marketing ticket because, yeah, I think they can customize those. But I've seen some really custom ones, so I know they can do it. Can additional PEs be added, or does the $2,000 grant, if achieved, block us from adding additional lender credit? So there's no price exceptions on HomeFundIt. That's one of the guidelines. Be sure you read the guidelines on HomeFundIt. Super important. They're not very long. I think there's like 2 pages of guidelines. But no additional price concessions on HomeFundIt. It's just the $2,000 grant, and that's it. The only thing that stacks on top of that, I believe, is a Borrow Smart grant. Obviously, that's what I was talking about earlier. Another question. What happens to the funds if the buyer buys a truck before closing and can't qualify at the last minute? That's a golden rule that they broke if they're buying a car while they're buying a house. That's always a bad idea. But if they do, and they can't qualify for their home, that funds just stay there in their campaign until they get themselves dusted off and fixed up, and then they get back on track. We see that all the time, actually. People, their house offer doesn't get accepted or something falls through. The campaign just keeps running until they're ready for those funds, basically. And if the funds have already been seasoned, they're in their bank account, so that's okay. People always ask me this one question, can the money, what happens to the money if they decide not to buy, right? This is kind of where these questions tend to go. If they decide not to buy, it's their money. It was gifted to them from other people. It's not our money. We can't make them buy a house. So they can take it at any point in time. There's an ACH button, and they can hit that button and go to Vegas if they want. It's their money. And when you think about it, traditional gifting, if they'd received a paper check from mom and dad, that money would be in their bank account. That's their money too, and they could go to Vegas with that money. So we haven't really changed the fact that it's always going to be their money. Now, the $2,000 lender credit does hold people. And frankly, the fact that they're using HomeFundIt, the platform, is a huge retention tool because they're telling all their family and friends about this, having them come by, make a donation, collecting funds there. And so that's why we almost never see voluntary exits from HomeFundIt. It's usually involuntary exits where people hit a major speed bump, like major job loss or health issue or divorce or something like that. And then in most of those cases, they ask us to reverse the donations back to the donors because they don't want the money at that point. They don't feel good taking it. So we rarely see voluntary exits. HomeFundIt tends to be a retention tool because of the nature of how the platform works, collecting funds, committed to the lender, committed to the buying process. And they're usually going. And anytime there's a speed bump in the road, usually the funds just sit there until they get themselves back on track. And then they finish. So it's actually a major selling point for the program is it's a retention tool. Can the seller contribution be added on top of the grant? Yeah, so subject to interested party contribution limits, IPC limits, usually those are around 3% on conventional loans. So the seller could add to closing costs. The realtor can add to closing costs, obviously, in the 40 states that allow it. And the lender, and obviously we're putting in $2,000. So your IPC limits are part of that. Okay. Selling point I learned yesterday, GoFundMe takes a portion of the funds raised. We do not. Absolutely. If you tried to do this on a traditional fundraising platform, of which there are many out there, GoFundMe being probably the one everybody knows, yeah, you'd have huge commissions and fees that wouldn't be part of it. And it's just a mess because you're collecting money that then, you're going to try to use in a home transaction. Not only does that money have to become buyer funds by seasoning, if you do it wrong, you're kind of do-it-yourself model versus HomeFundIt, which is built into the whole process. There's no $2,000 grant at the end if you use GoFundMe, and so it's just kind of a mess. And I've seen people try to do that, and you have to be super careful. And obviously, there are those fees, as you pointed out. So. Just a good reason to use HomeFundIt because it's purpose built for it. And again, if you're doing Freddie Mac program, there's no seasoning required. It just couldn't be easier. So good way to go. Okay, running out of questions. Again, if you haven't grabbed that zip file, about halfway up the chat stack there is the HFI starter kit. Grab that and click that and it'll download to your computer. All kinds of goodies in there. We're here to help you along the way. So whether you're making presentations to real estate offices, we do those custom presentations constantly to real estate offices for loan officers. So get a group together. We did a fantastic group in Miami just 2 days ago. Got a lot of folks excited and just energizes everybody. So if you've got one of those presentations you'd like to do, let me know. And we're here to help you grow your business with this thing. So again, the most important thing I can leave you with, and I'll close with this, is behavior change. Think way up the funnel, right? Your goal should be to get people who are further away from buying, fill your pipeline with those folks, give them time to do what they do, which is line up people who can help them. Those people are future points of referral for you. So time is your ally. Think about not just dealing with people who are walking in the door, but networking your way around to find the people who are future homeowners. That's 60%. That's the reason I showed you those numbers at the beginning. 60% of prospective buyers versus 26% of current buyers. Your goal is to find those prospective buyers. They're out there. They're stumbling all over the place, dreaming. You can market to them. You can find them all over the place. They're people you know. They're people who know those people. And that's the key to growing your business. And you've got a tool to grab those people the minute you meet them. So pretty cool stuff. All right, that's all I have. I will hit the stop record button. And thank you guys for